first going to start off by mixing your color. Today I'm using the Color Brilliance Ion line from Sally's. Sally's is a beauty supply store that anybody can shop at. You do not need to have a professional cosmetology license to shop there. And I've always really liked the Ion color line and I've never had any issues with it, so I stick with it. The tubes come in 2 ounces of color. I'm using 2 different colors today. I'm using a 4N-4.0 and a 4A-4.1. So that's a level 4 in ash and neutral. Whenever using more than one color or using an additive, you want to mix that together before you add your developer, just to make sure that everything is distributed and combined, and then you can go ahead and add your developer. You want to add equal parts, so I have 4 total ounces of color, so I need 4 total ounces of developer. I'm using 10 volume today because I'm only looking to deposit this color, and I just kind of mix it till it's a consistency that I'm comfortable with. Once you've been doing it long enough, you can kind of just tell when the consistency is correct, but starting out, it would probably be best for you to measure it out. So I'm going to start by applying it to her roots, and I'm going to section it off into 4 sections, down the center of her head, and then from the top of the head down to the side of the ear. This is like quarter sections. The reason I'm applying it like this is because it helps to section off the hair and makes it a lot easier to work with. But I also want to apply it to her roots first because we want the most depth in her root area and then gradually transition into the lighter color. This style of color, this look, is typically what someone would call an ombre or balayage. It's a difference in technique and there's a million different ways to achieve it. I'm going to show you 2 kind of different ways that I did today. I'm working my way through each section now and applying color to the roots. I'm taking about inch sections and completely saturating the hair with the product. Once hair color dries out, it stops processing. So you want to make sure that you really saturate it, especially if it's pre-lightened hair and it's porous, because you don't want any patchiness or inconsistencies once you wash it out. So once I've completed applying the product to her entire head on the roots, then I'm going to work down and kind of start the next technique, you could say. So I'm using about inch sections, maybe a little more, depending on the thickness of the hair. And then I'm going to back comb her hair at about her mid shaft, closer towards her ends. What this is going to do is it's going to create texture and a variation in lengths, so that when I apply the color from the roots to the mid shaft, I'm stopping the color right where I applied the back combing technique. And this is going to create that gradation and that transition without it being a strong line of demarcation. When I wash it out, it's going to just slowly and gradually transition into the ends, where I will later put a lightener, but for right now, it's just her natural ends. So you can see what I left out. This is going to process for about 30 minutes, longer if you have great coverage that is needed to be covered. 10 volume is typically a 30-minute processing time to fully deposit. Like I said, it varies though depending on hair, color, texture, all that. So now I'm going to cut her hair. The reason I'm cutting it now as opposed to after the next application is because I want to see where all her layers are going to lie as I'm applying the lightener for the balayage technique. I want to see where everything will be as I'm applying the lightener so that I can color it accordingly so that I can get the desired look. It's more artistic and creative than scientific when you're doing a technique like this, if that makes sense. So I'm just cutting some more layers in her hair because I really want that blonde to be more visible in the end. And the reason I'm point cutting her hair is so that I can get rid of her split ends but keep as much length as possible, and it's just gonna give me a little more dimension in the end result. So now I'm going to start the final application, and this is what's called the balayage technique. You want to take your lightener, I'm using a blue base lightener to cancel out any brassiness in the hair, and then I'm going to put it on a paddle. A paddle with handle works a lot better, just heads up. Then you want to take sections and start applying the lightener very lightly to the sides in a V shape, and then once you get to the ends, you can saturate the ends with the lightener. I'm using a 30 volume developer with this only because I didn't feel the need for a 40. This is going to help with the transition from dark to light, as well as add a PC element to the style. And then here I'm actually taking a 5N, which is just a level lighter, and I'm applying it to the mid shaft a little bit where there was a little bit of inconsistencies and patchiness, but I also wanted some chunks where it was a little darker and wasn't fully blonde. This is just going to add even more dimension, and it's also going to help with that transition. because it's going from that 4 to the 5 and then into the lightener. So the more you can do to make sure that there are no harsh lines demarcation is going to be best in the end result. And the sections that I'm picking up are not uniform at all. They're totally different variation in sizes because I wanted there to be a lot of dimension and contrast, and I wanted the final effect to be very piecey and chunky. The tin foil that I'm laying down after each section is just to help so that the colors don't bleed together. Saran wrap works very well. You just don't want anything bleeding into the other colors and causing zebra lines because that's not cute on anybody. Techniques like this really take time and experience to truly master, I guess you could say. If you have a friend who will let you practice different techniques on them and be your guinea pig, that will help you a lot because you'll eventually get to the point where you just know how and where you're applying the color will end up being exactly what you wanted. So I'm going to let this apply for about 15 to 20 minutes. Since her hair was already lightened, it didn't take too much time. I just needed to break through that previous color that we had applied. Then I shampooed and conditioned her hair, and now I'm blow drying it. I added a blow dry spray which protects the hair from the heat of the blow dryer as well as speeds up the blow dry time. And then I'm just going to run a curling iron through it because I really like how the ombre style looks curled, really any style with highlights. I'm adding the Kenra heat protecting spray, and the reason why you see steam is just because when you add that product, for some reason the Kenra heat protecting spray just does that. It's not burning or frying your hair, that is just how it reacts with the heat. But you definitely want to add a heat protectant when curling your hair because you want to keep the health and integrity of your hair, especially when you're using a lightener. And this is the final result. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you have any questions about anything, please feel free to comment me or message me and I will get back to you. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and I'll see you later.